Are you ready, folks? Let's get rocking in here. Bob here, Arne Pilze. Let's dive into Rivals of Ixalan Standard. What is gonna happen after the bans that basically rocked the world, and let's look at it from a view of an active realist. So, first off, okay, Attune's gone, Refiner's gone, Ferocidon's gone, and Ramonap Ruins are gone. Just those four. Basically crippled the top two top tier 1 decks, etc. And made them like significantly weak, but not entirely dead. But in case of teamwork, kind of, I suppose. But yeah, mono red or I think red splash white will be still quite a thing. And one of the biggest winners of all of this jazz would be blue white slash Esper Gut Pharaoh's Gift. And yeah, not only for that deck, but for blue-white Esper, approach, control, blue-white cycling, etc., we get the Baffling Hand. Which will be a pretty big consideration because it slices into so many white decks. And Natural Ice and things like this will be much more important, I think. And Gift was not so insane previously because, well, what it was like Angel of Inventions, and that's about it. So nothing like super crazy. There wasn't much of like sick beef really. Now we could even think of some like more focused Reanimator deck. So things like Spell Pierce might be actually much better, and just all the artifact enchantment removal again. Because one thing is like Angel of Inventions and all those tokens and pumps and so forth, but another thing is when they're gonna bring in Azors, Atalpas, and Zahals, and all of that jazz. So yeah, that could be a problem. So Graveyard Hate's probably gonna be pretty important. So that's Teamwork, so that's how it looked like. The 4-color version of it, not necessarily, you know, the list that you are accustomed to see, but to one of those, for instance. And yeah, from the look of it, it seems like when you take 4 refiners or 4 attunes out of this picture, then what's left? How to fill out those gaps and what to do? I really don't know the answer. One of the possible directions that me and a few other friends and some podcasts for some other projects came up with, maybe something like Grixis energy, but not exactly control, but still with harness lightning and stuff, but more like improvise slash, you know, Colossus kind of thing, because, well, one of the sort of next things that come to mind how to fill out the gap with for attunes and refiners will be puzzle knots, right? But they're not exactly creatures, and then they don't have help you exactly ramp or fix the mana all that much necessarily. That means that you're not gonna be really that creature centric, not really gonna be able to beat down all that much. That means that you're probably gonna have to become this grindy mid-range deck. Yeah, but you're not gonna really need green anymore. So poor poor Hydras and poor Cubs, basically. That's what I want to say. On red, on the other hand, okay, like we're not gonna see Ferocidons anymore, and not gonna see Ramanap Ruins. Okay, what to do with Ramanap Ruins is not that difficult. It's just that okay, like you just accept that thing, and then you might not even have to play all that many deserts, or maybe you can slice in I don't know what kind of value lands you would take. Maybe like third and fourth scavenger ground +2 basic mountains. I don't know. It's one thing you could think of, but I'm not sure if that's a good plan actually. So you still want to play the Scorched Deserts, you still want to play some Scavenger Grounds just because, well, Ixalan Graveyards will be like really good. You might play still the third one in the sideboard. Just because, yeah, like the gift was a problem for this deck before, and now even more, I think, because of all those fatties. And now that you don't have the Ferocity to stop all the life gain. The biggest question, I guess, is like what free drop to put instead of the dinosaurs that kind of fits the bill. I don't know. You can add more crushers, more minotaurs for the time being. Maybe move some of the PNLRs from sideboard to main deck, something like that. I know harvesters don't look that bad, but I don't think that's what you want to do. And that's as per approach. 8th place or something from latest standard GP in Santa Clara, I think. So yeah, the deck doesn't lose anything. This is actually a bit weird build. You don't see Essence Scatters and all for disallows, which I'm kind of fine with. But yeah, still want to see some scatters. So maybe yeah, cutting 1 disallow and 1 will for 2 scatters, something like this. And then maybe even cutting 1 more. And what else? Maybe Contempt from main and put in that's 1 and a white and new enchantment that removes small guys, something like that, perhaps. Think. Yeah, the deck is pretty stocked, and yeah, well, this list actually has a couple Hulks main, whereas I think my teammate actually had them in the sideboard. It's just that, well, in game 1, you don't really want to switch on opponent's removal spells. That's the main idea. I mean, it's sweet, but like you can always just slam dunk 4 cats, 2 scarabs, and 2 hulks. And then again, because of the too many enchantments, that's new removal spell, that yeah, I kinda accept that it's a good deal. You actually have less incentive to go into black, so go Espa. You might still be alright with 2 colors, but I still like Fatal Push quite a bit. And the other big part is the Scarab God, and Juris actually is also a factor, sort of. Because even in, you know, in some builds of blue-white, you still played a couple Fairy Pulls, if you didn't have the Milling Deserts in there, so just to have more cycling lands, stuff like that. But I don't think that's the only Esper that we're gonna see in the coming weeks. I think Esper tokens is alright, so you don't have to be Esper necessarily, because and then because of blue, white, and Esper gift tags, then I think having access to Scarab Gods in tokens will be a pretty big deal, and same goes for approach tags, because, well, I kind of feel like those new fatties are gonna be really sick. So yeah, I think to abuse that, plus be able to counteract your opponent's reanimation plans with your Scarab Gods, so I think that will be a big factor. Because after mono red cards and teamwork cards, I think Scarab God is one of the biggest bad boys in the format. And speaking of new cards, well, Vamps are gonna be good now that red is crippled and energy's kind of killed in a way. I like a lot of new cards. I'm gonna say that we're gonna see the Admiral's Order in all tempo blue decks, in Merfolks and Pirates, and maybe in some other decks too. Some Drake decks, perhaps, for instance. My actually favorite dinosaur from the new set from Rivals of Ixalan is actually this Cherished Hatchling. I think that's the best dino card from the new set, but I don't believe in dino-centric, dino-focused deck, so that's not gonna be a thing in my mind. And yeah, pirates are cool. I could see Grixis or black-red or blue-black or whatever. I could see them. I'm not gonna say anything about like the level of playability. I think Monred will become sort of red splash something pirates. Maybe black, maybe blue-red even pirates, something like this. Maybe splash in white. I think people will try everything, but we'll see what will happen when the dust settles. So yeah, speaking of, they have a lot of like interesting new cards. I think Phoenix is not necessarily gonna be in you know, pirates or Red the Queen style of decks. I actually think it's gonna be much of a bigger thing in well, in some mid-range decks actually, like Jund mid-range for instance. And well, you can still play it in the sideboard in mono red or red splash something. It's not gonna be main deck anyway. I guess if you're gonna bring in PNLRs in the spot of the, you know, in the spot of the Ferocidons, then yeah, you get space for Phoenixes in the sideboard. Well, everybody been talking about Merfolks. I'm not gonna say a whole lot about it. I'm just gonna say that be careful and tune the lists and don't get delusional, because I've seen so many Merfolks lists and most of them haven't had the touch of reality, haven't been on the ground. So yeah, well, okay, they're not exactly on the ground. They're a lot of time in the sea and around it, but sometimes they're also like spend time at on the ground. And yeah, for instance, you don't have to play Kapala, at least not in main deck. Maybe in the sideboard, for instance. I think you want to play all 4 Kumenas for sure. What else? I think you want to play 1 or 2 Oracles main deck, and maybe more in the sideboard, because that's your kind of like Bident of Tussock kind of card. All the control tools, so when you build all your sweet tribal decks, don't forget that Settled Wreckage is still there, Fumigate's still there. Now we have Golden Demise as well, and then we have Master's Acquisition, making control decks more consistent. Then we have Moment of Craving for any new red aggressive deck. And then we have Deadman's Chest for all the mid-range matchups, basically. Drake Heaven is a reminder here that there is also that deck called Blue-White Cycling. I'm not sure how it's gonna fit, if it survived the Monra / Temur Energy world. I think it will certainly survive this tribal new world, for instance. Yeah, vampires are cool, and actually I would be not really surprised to see Gruesome Fate and Elenda in Black-White X tokens. I think Elenda and Fate and tokens are just such huge pickups, but they're both okay in vampire stacks. Probably in a more vampire-based deck, the Fate is not like that sweet. But I think in tokens is a legitimate spicy tool that I hope to see people actually play and resolve and actually get value out of. Pummeler decks are kind of dead. They might shift into being blue-red with Drakes and be more spell-based, stuff like that. And they lost a lot. Like, Refiners and Attunes were as important for Pummeler decks as for Temur Energy, for instance. And then I played the deck and it had the touch of black with Cartouche in the sideboard, but it was pretty much just blue-green. But then I've seen some Temur lists as well, with Fling, Rampage, Braids, and Trundress in the sideboard, so that's still a thing. So perhaps it's time to just ditch green, forget about Blossom in defense, probably max on dive downs and spell pierce in the main. Well, maybe maybe not main, but kind of diversify your portfolio a little bit. Maybe play something like Sensor, I don't know, Essence Scatters in the main, stuff like that. Not really go all in on pummelers. Well, options are there. Not sure. I don't think the pummeler decks as an archetype is a that thing, but they will have to really adjust and transform into some kind of I don't know, Delver style deck. Let's put it this way. I don't think there will be same amount of upgrades in the format. That means that maybe there is a slight gap or slight space for Panharmonic on a reservoir decks, and then you're still gonna play some lightning strikes and fatal push and disintegration in Mardu. Mardu is also probably gonna be one of the premier aggro decks in the format. I really think it has future. It hasn't been like all that insane before the bans, but it still had its place. It still had its place. People just joined the dark side instead of playing more with it or trying to tune it. It wasn't like very consistent deck. That was the problem, I think. But yeah, Panharmonicon plus Chupacabras equals fun times. Form a dinosaur here is because, well, it's kind of like a build around card for Grixis control, which I think might be a thing. And this form might actually fit into some sideboards of Jaunt midrange, for instance, as well. It's not only Grixis card. So the package of Constrictor, Ballista, Rishkar plus Hulk is still there. You're not gonna play Siphoner anymore. You could think of like sideboard Tender Shoot Dryad, for instance. I just like the card, but I think it might be like a little bit too slow, even though it says at the beginning of each upkeep. You kind of have to kill it, otherwise it could get out of control, but then again, I think that if you have some way to bring her back, then I think it's worth it for grindy mid-range / control matchups. And then there is some incentive at the very least to go into Soul type because of the Hadanas climb. Just does so much with the Constrictor, Ballista, and Gear Hulk and so forth. So I don't think it's actually a Merfolk's card. I think it belongs into this archetype. You're just not gonna have space for it in the Merfolks. It's a bit too slow, and you're not gonna get max value out of it. That's what I mean. And yeah, let's see what it will be. There's a pretty good chance that it will be probably not Sultai but Junt, or just straight black-green. Yeah, I think the deck will hunt all the aggressive decks, but it will be probably falling down as soon as all the gift / token / approach decks gonna you know, come back with tuned up deck lists. So everybody got something. I hope somebody actually plays and breaks Release to the Wind. I don't mind seeing actually red-white aggro, for instance, with this new dino with some other 2/2 flyer for red-white and the new 2-mana enchantment that flips. I don't mind seeing pirates as like a real competitive deck. I would be glad to see that. I wouldn't mind to see some proper ramp decks as well, is that way that you have kind of a more diversified, more balanced metagame between rush aggro / control / midrange with tokens and gift / ramp in the form of some red-green ramp with Enter the Unknown, perhaps with Reckless Rage, perhaps with even Ornithopters, and perhaps with the 2-mana Dino style Rampant Growth. So I kind of want to see that. So let's bring down some conclusions. So we have Nukins as approach, cycling gifts, decks, tokens, and perhaps vehicles. I hope so. I think it will be there. But different decks will try to catch up. Of course, all those tribal decks, Merfolks, perhaps vampires, because they have a lot of like really cool tools and angles of attack. They have card advantage, they have discard, they have drain effects, they have ways to go maybe sometimes even wider than merfolks. And Grixis control could be a thing, so you don't have to necessarily be blue, white, or Esper. I think Grixis has all the tools as well. Then I think you have black, green, rock, so all the snakes and counters and so on. Pummeler maybe will be reborn in some shape or form, but I don't think it will be as good even after proper reconstruction. So yeah, we'll see some kind of mono red or some kind of red splash white through then. So rainbow spell still gonna be there. I think we're still gonna see as much of like hardness lightning and the abrades. And all those shocks and lightning strikes. So all of that's still there. But it's just gonna be seen from other decks. Most likely. So yeah, playing creatures still gonna be tough to justify, but then you have red, you have lots of reach with strike and stuff like that. So bear in mind, you need either some ways to burn down your opponent when all your creatures are just like gone and not gonna stick in play at all after a certain point. So you need a way to burn down or counter their sweepers, or discard it, or drain them. So you need some kind of plan, because, well, it will be really tough to just rely on just creature beatdowns overall each game. So you need some way to close out the games without creatures. It can't be just all creatures, let's put it this way. You need some kind of protection or some tricks up your sleeve. Because mid-range decks are still gonna be there, control decks still gonna be there, ramp decks probably will be there too. And somebody might brew something based around those 3 mana black green or black white enchantments that transform into lands. Somebody might brew something spicy, or they might be just support cards. We'll see. So I'm hoping somebody will kind of break them in a way. And then there is space, I think, for some creativity. There could be some deck with a bunch of those engraphs, that black-red planeswalker, some weird control deck. Maybe it will be just in as a staple, as a spicy one-off in the main or in the sideboard of Grixis control or Jund even. I think the card is sort of flexible enough, I think. But yeah, as for what comes after Temur Energy, well, green kinda looks dead, so then you can maybe replace it with black, and then add puzzle knots, and then because of all the artifact stuff you could put in some improvised stuff. Because of puzzle knots and so on, maybe you can add some Colossus, and because of that maybe you might even want to add in some flings for extra reach. Maybe that would be too much. Would love to see some deck with Storm the World, the blue-red transform enchantment from Rivals. Would love to see a deck with Marionettes and killing this way, or killing with Revel Enrichers, the 5 mana black enchantment, for which you need 10 treasures in play to win. Yeah, I was talking about Reservoir and Harmonic and Colossus, but that's just FNM level stuff. I don't think it's gonna go beyond that. But I'm gonna brew and have fun until Birmingham, because there'd still be, I think, one more set in spring sometime in April before that GP. We'll see about that, and then we'll see what happens after Rivals of Ixalan. What comes on top. I think I'm gonna put myself for OK tournament onto Marta vehicles, because I haven't played all that much, so after a while I'm probably gonna grow tired again out of it, but for the time being it seems like a safe choice. In the meantime I'll probably durdle with some Harmonic and Reservoir decks. I kinda know how my Reservoir deck's gonna look like, but I still don't have a good list in mind for Panharmonicon. So let me guys know, bring me your ideas for that last deck. And yeah, the field is now open, sort of. I wouldn't say that creature deck's gonna have a great and easy time, that's for sure. So yeah, thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, I'll see you guys in other videos and versus matches and whatnot. Bye.